Julie, who's calling in from Tennessee. Hey, Julie, let me know if you can hear us.
Hey, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you just fine. I saw that you were calling in right as that call was happening, so I think you had some thoughts.
Oh my gosh, I so do. And Sarah, Dan, you're amazing. But Sarah, just so you know, this is Julie LaVoice from Memphis. Love you, girl. You're doing fantastic. Okay. Oh man, I didn't even have to dox myself. You knew.
Yeah, I thought it was.
No, I'm teasing. I'm teasing. I don't give a fuck. You know that. Okay. Oh, sorry, Dan. Anyway, so proof for David from New Jersey as to whether or not this virus actually exists. I submit over 5,000 dead Americans. We surpassed Italy and China in our death rate from this virus. And as a person, I'm 42 years old. My parents are in their late 70s, and they both have other, underlying health conditions like diabetes and heart conditions and things like that. Dan's call, I'm so sorry, Dan, I love you. David's call made me very upset because the thing about social distancing and what we're all trying to do right now as a society is to protect the most vulnerable among us, right? So we want to protect pregnant women, we want to protect small babies, and we want to protect our parents who, could very easily die of pneumonia if they get this virus. I mean, if they get COVID-19, essentially it's kind of like pneumonia. And I'm not a doctor in any way, shape, or form. I'm a tech writer, so. But it's just, my mom has dementia, and so I'm talking to her every day. And every day I'm having to remind her about why, we haven't been out to see her and why we're not there like we used to be, why my husband isn't there because he does their yard work and luckily my dad, thank goodness my dad is there to look after her. But it's so frustrating when I hear someone say, well, do we even know there's a virus? Oh gosh, it was like my head was going to explode. Yeah, so I just wanted to put that out there and say, Dan, you were right. Don't assume that something's true just because somebody says it to you. Look it up. I mean, we've got CNN, we've got MSNBC, we have the BBC, and we've got NPR. These are all good sources for information. And I can tell you right now that the UK is on lockdown. People in England and in Scotland and Northern Ireland, they're not supposed to leave their homes right now unless it's on essential errands. And that's to get food, prescriptions, or doctor visits. That's it. And you can be fined right now there for leaving your home. So this is a very contagious virus. And what we're trying to do with social distancing and by minimizing contact is to not overwhelm the healthcare system in the United States because we all know that it's crap, basically. Right. And yeah, sorry for not coming up with a better word for that, but there you go.
No, you're right. There's no reason for us to have such a radical skepticism for something that we can very clearly demonstrate to be true. This reminds me a little bit of when the Sandy Hook thing was happening. There were people who were saying, oh, this isn't real. These are crisis actors. Okay. Now that in itself, that
made me furious.
It's dehumanizing to the people who actually went through that and lived that. There were people saying the school wasn't even open at the time, which is just, whatever. Right. But like, this is an international pandemic where there's 1,000 stories of people giving their own testimonies of them being sick. And like in our healthcare system in particular, okay, you think it's like, all the secret governments coming together. Hey, we have private healthcare in this country. People in healthcare people in this country are getting their sources from private institutions, and private institutions are trying to get their sources from other places. They have to independently verify this stuff. I mean, our country even has a separate test that we develop that is different from other people. If we're all in this together, it doesn't even make sense for us to be used. I mean, like, we can look at this at a million different angles. We can break this down all day.
We always have to be different. It's like with the metric system.
But for some people, right? For some people, unless you have that thing right there in front of them, they're just going to be skeptical about it, but they won't be skeptical about some other things. You know, sometimes they have a bent towards a distrust of something, and we can definitely see that.
Sorry, I'm so sorry. I absolutely agree with everything you said. I'm sorry, I kept trying to butt in.
That's okay.
And the thing that got me was when you were reading the headline and it said debunk. I was like, wow, did David not notice that first word?
Well, no. So the source
I'm honestly not.
The source I found, this was a different thing. It was talking about his original source. So he had the UK source, and I just found another thing that said, okay, here's an article called Debunked, and it's referencing that other article. So again, it's just like, that's just a few minutes of searching and figuring that out.
Okay, fair.
But you have to, if you don't have the right research techniques, sorry, I'll give my piece and then I'll let you say your thing, because you're obviously super excited.
Sorry.
But like, you know, if you don't have the lateral reading techniques to say, okay, here's one source. Is this source credible? Who's writing it? What are their credentials? Here's another source. What is this saying? What does it say in comparison to this other source? Are these two things saying the same things? You know, like all of that takes time, and a certain level of education to figure that out. And if you don't have either of those things, then it's very easy to jump to conclusions and just like jump on the first headline that you see. I mean, that's why so many people get a lot of their information on going back to Bible stuff. Like if you look up any questions on the Bible, you see a lot of apologist websites. You don't see like atheist websites and stuff. Now, it's not to say that those apologist sites don't have legitimate information all the time, but they are going to have some things that, you know, we would probably disagree with. So yeah, definitely there's techniques involved that we can use to look at this stuff. But go ahead, Julie.
No, you're absolutely right, Dan, and I really appreciate that. Because it helps me not be quite so vitriolic. Because I do need to remember that, you know, I mean, I used to be an English professor, and now I'm a technical writer because money and healthcare and shit. But so I know how to double check sources, and I know how to look up things, and I understand that is not. I've taught enough people how to do that I understand that is not everyone's thing. That it's not everyone's forte. And I don't mean any disrespect to David from New Jersey when I say that. And if he's watching now, I'm sorry if I made you feel bad, but dude, seriously. My niece is, she's an intern nurse. She would have been graduating this week, but her graduation and her final exams have been put off because of the pandemic. So she's interning as a nurse, and she's wearing home-sewn masks to work because they don't have enough PPE, which is personal protective equipment for nurses and doctors. And we're seeing, you know, we've seen doctors and nurses, you know, they're dying in this country because they're dealing with this, and they're having to wear the same masks and the same, you know, PPE for you know, shifts on end, and then, you know, germs. I mean, you know, we know how they work. So it's just very, it just kind of hits me where I live on the you know, parental front, and also on the, you know, my parents' grandchildren's, you know, front. Like I'm very frustrated, and you know, people who don't take this seriously, it's just silly. Stop it. Like this is a real thing.
Yeah, I wish I could just shake people and be like, this is real, like, stop acting like this. But you know, we live in a society where we have to have conversations about this, and that's our best method of kind of getting the word out there. So like that, absolutely. Our goal as skeptics in this time, in my opinion, like our duty is to get the best source information out there possible, to have conversations. Because like when I'm when I'm doing my job and I'm hearing these people, sometimes I'll chime in. I don't do it every time, and I really need to do it every time because look, I'll talk to these people and then I'll never talk to them again. So I don't care what they think of me afterwards. Like they need to know this stuff. I just want to be like, hey, look, that's not true. And here's reasons why, because the more people, unfortunately, calling people out isn't always looked at as great in this country, but like we have to do it sometimes. I think it's our duty to kind of be like, hey, you can't keep talking about that. That's totally wrong. We got to stop right there.
You're absolutely right. You are exactly right. Oh, please, Sarah. Yeah, talk. No, go ahead.
I was just saying, especially when lives are at risk.
Yeah, absolutely. We definitely we have a job to protect people right now in all of this. But Julie,
and that's another thing. I was really annoyed that he was saying that it was stupid for people, that he thought that it was some kind of conspiracy that people weren't going to places that make food. It's like, man, and then in the same, not the same breath, but in the same diatribe, he was complaining about the destruction of the middle class. And I was just like, what are you talking about? Like, I worked my way through college and grad school in a pizzeria. Like, what, like these people, like as many people in this line of work as we can keep employed, it all the better. This
is a tangent.
It has to be safe. It has to be safe for them and for us.
Yeah, I want to finish this thought, and then I'll go ahead and go to my next caller here, Julie. But yeah,
sure.
The middle class, I mean, if you're middle class, chances are the job that you have is a job you can do at home. Now, that's not to say for every job, but hey, if anything, working class people are the most disproportionately affected by this. People who have to go to plants and places where they can't do their job at home. Like my job right now, I have to go out and I can't do it at home. I can't make deliveries at home for the company I work for. So yeah, it just doesn't happen. So yeah, obviously everybody's getting affected by this. That's not to minimize, the destruction that this thing has caused. But yeah, if you want to talk about class warfare, it's the working class that's definitely getting hit the hardest. But anyway, Julie, I want to go ahead and go to my next caller here. But thanks so much for calling in and giving your take on this, because that was quite a conversation. I'm glad we could get some more voices on that.
Well, thank you, and you two have a great night.
Yeah, stay safe, and we'll talk to you next time. Okay.
Yeah, stay safe and.
Oh, I had to drop it. See, that's the thing. Clicking hyperlinks, not the same thing as like pressing buttons. It's totally different. But Julie, thanks for calling in on that. We need to have more conversations about this stuff. That's for sure. And engage with people where they can listen.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Any other thoughts, Sarah, before we go to another call here? Or?
Just that the people Julie was talking about, like her parents, who are more at risk, their lives matter, and that's what we need to be remembering when we're dealing with how inconvenient it is to be socially distancing and washing your hands until they're all like dried and chapped and stuff. Like that's why we're doing it.
Yeah, I have a lot of my family works in healthcare, and there are people who are they aren't directly working in. Well, actually, some of them are working in hospitals, but the ones I'm thinking of may not be working in hospitals, but they're on call. Like they have to be ready to help out in those situations. And so, yeah, people aren't using these resources and calling out like the National Guard and stuff like that in New York for no reason. Like this is a detriment for everybody involved. There's just no advantage. I cannot conceive of a possible advantage to be gained by this, because it just seems like everybody's getting hit on some layer, rich or poor. This is affecting your life in some way, and chances are it's going to be negative. Again, unless you're in the hand sanitizer industry or these other ones, because it sounds like they might be making bank. I don't know, but regardless, I do want to get to some other callers here. We got quite a few.